Hello everyone, Assalamualaikum. Welcome to my channel Easy Anatomy Hand Notes. In the last video we have learned about axilla, its presenting parts, boundaries, contents and walls of the axilla. In this video we will be learning about axillary artery, its branches, venous drainage and lymphatic drainage. Let's start with the axillary artery. Axillary artery begins at the lower border of the first rib as the continuation of the subclavian artery. It terminates at the lower border of the teres major muscle, where it continues as brachial artery. We can see in this diagram, this is the axillary artery. It begins at the outer border of the first rib as the continuation of the subclavian artery, and it terminates at the lower border of the teres major muscle, and then it continues as the brachial artery. Pectoralis minor muscle divides the axillary artery into three parts: first part, second part and third part. First part is superior to the muscle, second part is posterior to the muscle, and third part is inferior to the pectoralis minor muscle. Let's look at the diagram. This is the axillary artery and this is the pectoralis minor muscle. This muscle divides the artery into three parts: first part, which is superior to the muscle, second part, which is posterior to the muscle, and third part is inferior to the pectoralis minor muscle. So we have learned that axillary artery begins at the outer border of the first rib as the continuation of the subclavian artery, and it terminates at the lower border of the teres major muscle. Pectoralis minor muscle divides the artery into three parts: superior part, posterior part and inferior part to the muscle. Now let's discuss about the first, second and third part of the axillary artery in details. Anterior relations of the first part. First we have skin, superficial fascia, then deep fascia, clavicular part of the pectoralis major muscle, clavipectoral fascia with cephalic vein, lateral pectoral nerve and thoracoacromial artery. Now posterior relations of the first part of the axillary artery. First, intercostal space with external intercostal muscle, first and second digitations of serratus anterior muscle and medial cord of the brachial plexus. Lateral relation, lateral and posterior cords of the brachial plexus, and medially axillary vein. Moving on to the relations of the second part of axillary artery. Anteriorly, we have skin, superficial fascia, deep fascia, pectoralis major muscle and pectoralis minor muscle. Posterior relations are posterior cord of the brachial plexus and subscapularis muscle. Laterally, we have lateral cord of brachial plexus and coracobrachialis. Medially, medial cord of brachial plexus, medial pectoral nerve and axillary vein. Now let's look at the relations of third part of axillary artery. Anteriorly, we have skin, superficial fascia and deep fascia. Posteriorly, radial nerve, axillary nerve in the upper part, subscapularis in the upper part, tendons of latissimus dorsi and teres major in lower part. Laterally, coracobrachialis, musculocutaneous nerve in upper part, lateral root of median nerve in upper part, trunk of median nerve in lower part. And medially, we have axillary vein, medial cutaneous nerve of arm and forearm. Moving on to the branches of the axillary artery. We have already known that axillary artery has three parts: first, second and third part. We have one branch from the first part, that is superior thoracic artery, two branches from the second part, that are acromiothoracic artery and lateral thoracic artery, and three branch from the third part, that are anterior circumflex humeral, posterior circumflex humeral and subscapular artery. Now let's look at the axillary vein. It is formed by the union of the basilic vein and the vena comitans of the brachial artery. After entering into neck, axillary vein continues as subclavian vein. Tributaries of the axillary vein: vena comitans of the brachial artery, thoracoacromial vein, lateral thoracic vein, and terminal part of the cephalic vein. Moving on to the axillary lymph nodes. Axillary lymph nodes are very important because breast carcinoma spread through axillary lymph nodes. Axillary lymph nodes are divided into 5 groups: anterior or pectoral group, posterior or subscapular group, lateral group, central group, and apical or infraclavicular group. Anterior or pectoral group drain lymph from upper part of the breast. Posterior or subscapular group drain lymph from upper part of the trunk posteriorly and the axillary tail of spines. Then lateral group drain lymph from upper limb. Central group drain lymph from anterior, posterior, and lateral group. Apical or infraclavicular group drain lymph directly from upper part of the breast and indirectly from other parts of breast through central group. Finally, apical group will drain lymph into subclavian lymphatic trunk in right side and thoracic duct in left side. Some will drain into supraclavicular lymph nodes.